We're super excited about this new gallery view because one of the things that we're really proud of is the responsiveness. We call it very snappy, where you run the report, the data loads really fast. And we spent a lot of time making sure that would happen. It's in beta right now. And we've had some of our beta users tell us they love how fast the report is. They're using it instead of their own DB to look things up, instead of going to the network, because it's so much easier to use.
How do you drive ROI with creative in 2025? Hello and welcome to Growth Masterminds, the podcast for growth marketers. My name is John Koetsier. Kind of an interesting, crazy time right now, right? We can make millions of creative, tens of millions of creative items with AI. We can make as many as we want, just make the machine do it, right? But have the testing and optimization suites kept pace? Well, Singular recently released Creative IQ. They call it an AI-powered insights for unstoppable creative growth, which sounds pretty freaking amazing. What's it actually mean? To do a deep dive, we have the product manager, Lisi Gardiner. Welcome, Lisi. Hey, super pumped to have you. It's not your first time on Growth Masterminds. You're like an expert. You've been here twice before. I'm not totally sure. Super pumped to have you. I want to get into Creative IQ. I want to talk about all the stuff. What's the IQ part? Let's talk about what it does for your creative, how it groups it, AI tagging, all that stuff. Before we dive into that, what's the problem here? What's the issue? What do marketers really need solved?
It's been a bit of a longer journey for us. We've actually been researching and talking to our customers about this for almost a year now. I think that it's been really interesting to learn about all the problems that marketers are still facing when it comes to creatives. And I think that we almost have three different views when it comes to creatives. We have a higher level view where it's someone that's more of an executive, more of a VP, and they just want to know what is my creative team doing? How many creatives are they putting out there?
Do they actually work anymore, or is it just AI?
And the challenge there is, how do I recognize that it's the same creative across all my networks, right? Then we have more of a UA view. And UA teams always tell us, we want to go as granular as possible. We want to have all the details. We want to be able to pivot everything and play around with the stats to kind of understand what's happening. And then we have the design team. And the design team is always telling us, we don't know what these UA team people are doing in the naming convention. So it's hard to decipher. We want visual. We want to see the video itself and then look at the stats. And we heard a lot from a lot of customers where the UA team would be responsible for spoon feeding the design team the stats because they don't trust them to run their own reports. And so we want to help enable the design teams to make sure that they have all the data that they can while they're generating hundreds of new creatives. So this is kind of that. But across the entire organization, the one thing we kept hearing over and over again was the whole tagging of creatives is such a manual process. People are still encoding in the name of the creative, all the different breakdowns that they want to measure and understand. And I think that there is kind of it is an interesting space to be in right now because there is also a battle happening right now. You mentioned there is more automation happening with AIs. And I think the networks are thinking, we have all this data about our users. We know the best creative to serve the user this ad, and we want to build it out for you. But marketers are still very much like, we have our own agenda about our own brand, about the different themes we want to test out. And we want to be the ones that are responsible for creating that. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But we're always on the side of the marketer, and we want to make sure we're building tools to help them be able to generate that data and insight. Yeah.
That is a great insight, actually. I mean, from the network point of view, they want to deliver results because that's how they get paid.
Yeah.
From the marketer point of view, yeah, you definitely want results. It's performance marketing after all. But there are people, and probably some UA people as well, who care about the brand and the long-term image. And we're not just going to do anything. We're not going to totally sell our soul here. We need to actually represent our app, our brand well, especially if they're a larger organization, right? So there's things to look at. Okay, cool. That's the big picture where you're bringing this product into. What is Creative IQ? 30,000 foot level.
So Creative IQ, we're going to be launching June, the pre-announcements about it. It's very exciting. And basically, it's a complete creative solution. So we have 2 new reports coming out. We have a layer of AI tagging coming out. And we're going to continue building out lots of different tools. And we're trying to think of it as a full 360 solution to help marketers create new creatives, constantly iterating on their creatives, and run their campaigns and analyze the data afterwards. So that's our end goal there.
So I want to walk into all the features and get your input. What is it? What's it look like? What's it mean? You said something earlier that tweaked me a little bit because tweaked my interest because you said it shows all my creative from all my partners. So that's really interesting actually to me, because if I'm running UA, I can go into my dashboard for any given partner and I can see that my ad sets, my groups, my ads, my creative. I may not actually see what actually gets shown to the end user if there's some magic happening on that partner's end to mix and match and all different things, but I know what I put in, right? But there's a silo, and then partner B, there's a silo, and then partner C, I could have 15
Yeah.
silos, right? So what you're saying is I can see all my creative for all my partners in one place.
I think that when it comes to creative data, it gets even more fragmented. People, for a while, we were all obsessing about iOS and measuring iOS with scan and like can't see anything. But I feel like we've had this kind of like gap when it comes to creative reporting for a while, where it's you need a PhD to remember everything. Okay. Where in Google, it's this, but then in Facebook, it's this, but then TikTok is doing this. But then what about my other networks? Whenever people always ask us, what is the difference between Singular and other MMPs? This is our expertise. We initially started as an analytics company. And so we are data experts. We have hundreds of integrations with creative partners already set up. Okay. Not every single partner has the actual file, the actual image for us to analyze, but we're kind of figuring out ways around it. But we have all these integrations that if it's email based or Gmail based and all the stuff that gives you the creative data. On top of that, we know that we hear from customers where they tell us with Google, it's really complicated. It's a black box. More and more of these bigger networks, they're like, you give us all your videos, all your images, and we'll do the combination of it. And they don't always share what is the winning combination. And then the way they break down the data makes it really hard for marketers to understand what's happening. We're putting a lot of effort to help figure out what's going on in this black box. And I think one of the really cool things we're doing with the new UI for our Explore report is we're going to help the users understand what creative data is available per partner. Because there is a view where you want to have, okay, what's happening across all my sources? But usually what we hear from customers, they tell us, we are doing the creative analysis per source breakdown. So you're going to have a nice new view where it's like, okay, I'm looking at network X and here's what's available. Instead of trying to figure it out, run a report, you get NA, you don't understand what's happening. So we're going to walk you through it. So you don't need a PhD. And
Awesome.
we're going to make sure that you have all the data that you need. For example, we would hear a lot of use cases like customers telling us, I have a video, but I'm running it on brand campaigns and I'm running it on performance campaigns, and I want to see the breakdown. So we have that available. It's the process of adding as many breakdowns and fields for it. It's an ongoing process. It's not a one-time done deal. So we have an entire team that's just dedicated to making sure we're pulling in all the best fields for you. And at the end of the day, it's in a normalized schema. And I think that this is a part where sometimes it's hard to convey to marketers because it's taking a very data engineering perspective. You don't need a BI team. You have Singular. We're going to take care of it for you. We're going to pull in all that data. We're going to normalize it, clean it up, combine it with your attribution data because we are your MMP. And then at the end of the day, you have a usable report that helps you understand what creative is performing the best.
Talk to me about AI tagging. So I'm imagining I have a mass of creative. Maybe I have 10,000, maybe I have 20,000, maybe I have 3,000. Even if it's 500, it's probably too much for me to keep sorted, organized, straight in my brain. But I kind of want to know, when I show my mascot, is that good or is that bad? When I show women aged 45 to 55, does that increase click-through rate, decrease? Does that increase? Talk about AI tagging, what that looks like, what that means.
So I think when we started out the project, we try to map out all the different strategies for AI tagging. Different vendors out there have different ways of doing this. And one of the ways that we considered was, imagine a gallery view, you see all your videos, and then you can search man with pink shirt, right? And then it pulls up all the videos with man with pink shirt. And the great thing about that is that it's very like user responsive. There's no limitation to certain tags. But the downside of that is that if I want to have an analysis that is more than just, do I have videos with a man in a pink shirt? You want to be able to understand, when we talk to our customers, they tell us, I know what are my top performing videos. What I don't know is, are these my top performing videos because it highlights a man with a pink shirt, because it's 30 seconds long, because the background is orange? What variable in this video is driving the performance? To be able to do that, you need a more structured approach to tagging. And so that's what we've decided to do. and thinking more like a data analyst and thinking like a data engineer, like how do I structure the data and the AI tags in a way that afterwards I can do this analysis and understand what are the variables in my creative that are driving performance so I can make more iterations of those. And that's ultimately what we're driving for. So what we've done is we've come out with predefined, call them AI dimensions more than tags, because what I want to help generate also is a report where it's, say, for example, you're testing out different languages, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to have a report that says how many videos do I have where the language is in English and Spanish and French? And then what were the stats for that? The impressions, clicks, installs, ROI for English, Spanish, and French. And to be able to do that, basically, we tag every video that we get from all the different partners that you're working with these default AI dimensions. So we'll have one that's audio language, and then we have all the languages. And so we've broken it up into components where it's everything that's audio. Is there sound? Is there voiceover? Is there music, language, right? Everything that's text. What's the call to action? What's the main message? What's the language in the text? And then everything that's more around like characters, elements. Is this animated or a real person, male, female, age, all the things that people are testing out. That's kind of like the initial milestone. We're going to be coming out with custom AI dimensions as well, because we know that every client is measuring something specific as well. Where we hear in the gaming, like you have your themes. We want to know if the witch theme versus the dragon theme, which one's performing better. We hear a lot from e-commerce apps where they're telling us like we have different lines of business, right? And we want to understand, is this line of business performing better than this one? And you do that with the creative tagging. So this is like step one. We're going to continue building out. And I've given you a very long answer, but the main idea is, again, helping you generate insights into what is it about your top performing videos, what's driving that. And so, yeah, so each video, we run it through an LLM model and we kind of tag these 17 default AI dimensions.
Super, super, super cool. It was a long answer, but it was a great answer. So you're okay. You get a pass.
It's hard. I want to make sure people understand the logic behind it, because you have to think 2 steps ahead in terms of what's the report you want, right? Not just like, okay, tag it,
I 100% love it. I absolutely love it, because you can create something that's great eye candy, but it's not usable or not effective or doesn't have value in the long term. Someone use it. So I love it. Absolutely love it. I want to talk about creative ROI. I want to talk about, ultimately, we're creating lots of creative, we're creating lots of ads, we're spending lots of money. We need ROI. And we want to know how our creative relates to our ROI. So there's a quote in the pre-announcement blog that I want to read, which sounds pretty cool. It says, easy to use card style gallery views put with thumbnails, video, and playable side by side with ROI metrics. So you have your creative side by side with your ROI metrics, so teams spot winners and losers at a glance. That sounds pretty freaking amazing. I mean, anybody can get their upper funnel metrics, right? You're going to get that in your dashboard at your ad partner, ad network, right? But all the way to ROI, that's pretty cool.
No, we're super excited about this new gallery view, because one of the things that we're really proud of is the responsiveness. We call it very snappy, where you run the report, the data loads really fast. And we spent a lot of time making sure that would happen. It's in beta right now. We've had some of our beta users tell us they love how fast the report is. They're using it instead of their own DB to look things up, instead of going to the network, because it's so much easier to use. And that was really critical for us. We want to dummy proof this report, make it easy for all the teams, UA, executives, design, marketing. Everybody can use the report. It runs really fast, and you have easy to understand. This is the video. These are the stats, impressions, clicks, ROI. And we're going to be adding more post-install events in there as well.
Super cool. You mentioned it, so it's a perfect segue about teams and different people using the product. You talked about the pre-announcement blog also talks about cross-functional collaboration. How's that work in the tool? What's that look like?
Yeah, I think this is the first time where we're working on a product where we really need to engage the design team. Usually, we're talking to the UA team, and maybe we'll talk to their BI team, data analysts. But now it really is a whole new segment of users that are going to be using Singular and enjoying the data that we have available. And the other thing we heard a lot is a lot of people work with agencies and with third parties. They're not always creating creatives in-house. It's also outside. And so being able to share some of the data, not all of your data, is really important to our customers as well. So that's something that we're going to be enabling as well.
Nice. Okay. So I know you've been in private beta and now kind of public beta for quite some time. You mentioned you've been working on the product for a year, right? Talking to customers. And I know it's been out there and some have been using it. Talk to me about some of the early returns, some of the early insights, some of the early results you're hearing about.
It's been really great. It's so exciting to hear such positive feedback after, working so hard on a project. Yeah, all products, it's not perfect. There's iterations coming out. The initial response has been very positive. We have a range of beta users from every vertical, every size. The needs of creative optimization vary very much between verticals and sizes. With smaller companies, we know sometimes they only have 2 creatives and they're running it for a very long time. Then we have larger customers that they're swapping out hundreds and thousands of creatives every week. In gaming, it's a really big thing. The other nice thing is we've added a layer of playables to the report. So now, especially for gaming that are using all these playable ads, they can visualize those in the gallery as well and look at the stats for that. We wanted to make sure it's an important segment for us, gaming. So we wanted to make sure that we supported that as well. So having a really complete solution has been great. We're getting lots of positive feedback.
The highest number of creatives I've personally heard of, I'm sure there's even more somewhere. One company was running 50,000 creatives a month, which is insane. I don't even want to know what the testing budget is for that. Although, of course, if you're making money while you're testing, it's not just all toast, right? But wow, impressive. And I think my cat just joined us. So if the cat jumps up on the table and enters the camera frame, then we'll have a more interesting podcast recording. Okay, so it's super cool. What I really look forward to in a couple months, you promised. I mean, I've got the contract. You signed in blood. I'm getting data, right? Results, hardcore, what's going on. So I'm looking forward to having you back when that happens and seeing what's going on, what people are doing, and how it's helping them. There's so much happening here, and there's so much change, right, in terms of how workflows are going, how people are making creative, and obviously the testing piece is a massive chunk of it as well. So I have your signature in blood. You're coming back in a couple months, and we're gonna figure it all out.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are also itching for more benchmark data. And so I think we need to work on that and give it to our customers. We got a lot of questions around launching a new app. What's the ideal number of creatives they should have and things like that. So, and then I think also being able to provide more benchmarks specifically around like placement. It's a tricky one because not every network has it. But for example, I'm running videos on Google. What's the breakdown between YouTube and Google Display? Being able to provide just benchmark data on that stuff, I think will be really great as well.
I think it's going to be super interesting. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to run some reports on it. I can't wait to share some of that data. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, super cool stuff. The thing that comes through the most when I'm just reflecting on this conversation that we had here is that it wasn't just about releasing a product. You thought deeply about this. You thought deeply about what's useful. You thought deeply about the problems that people encounter as they're doing user acquisition, as they're doing growth marketing, performance marketing. Thank you so much for sharing what you've learned and what you've built and what you continue to build right now.
Absolutely. I look forward to talking some more about creatives.